Thanks for checking out this highlight from the Casually Hardcore podcast. If you want to check out the full podcast after the show, please be sure to hit the top link in the description. But now, let's do it. All right, so what excites us the most about the future of Final Fantasy XIV?
We're there. We're in 6.0. You log in. What is it? Right?
Oh, I thought you were saying what's excited about the future. We're there.
We made it. Like, what is it? Yeah. Happy, you're up.
Oh man. See, the thing is, when you love something a lot, nice voice crack. When you love something a lot, the way that it is, and
puberty,
what it is, and you look at the things that can still be better, but you still very much you're playing it and you're invested in it for a specific reason. A lot of the times, just having more of that thing you enjoy is at least an acceptable enough future. Obviously, you don't want it to drop in quality or anything along those lines, but I think over the expansions, we've seen so many lessons learned, so many adjustments made. And with Shadowbringers, it feels kind of like the apex of that, where how does it get better? Can it get better? And so I think the only thing that I'm really thinking about for the future is not to now go the opposite way back to back, because we see it with World of Warcraft, where it's just constant. It's like this. And then sometimes it's like here and then here, but then here, but then here, then here. And it's like, that's what excites me is they haven't shown any sort of, how do I put it? They haven't shown that they were going to follow that trend. That it is, lesson learned. Doesn't stop them from trying and falling in certain aspects, but then it's lesson learned. Communication. That's why I'm always just excited to have more of it. So it's simple, having more Final Fantasy XIV, because it's only improved over time.
Chris?
I think it's been impressive. Not only has it improved, but we see things where they come out and they say something like, this isn't possible because of spaghetti code, right? We can't go back and we can't add flying to ARR. And so that gives me hope for things when you're like, we have stuff on the MOG station that's not account-wide. Why is it not account-wide? Because we only have a limited number of account-wide item IDs, and we can't use them on that. Like, that's such a bad reason for that design. That may be true. That doesn't make that an okay thing to say. And so there's things about this game that it's just a constant reminder that while it's incredible that 2.0 saved the flaws of 1.0, and is the exception to every rule. And when a game launches, there's a reason that when it relaunches, we don't expect it to succeed. A Realm Reborn is the exception, not the rule. But the downside is that they were throwing together a foundation, just hoping to God to stay alive. And there wasn't the ability to bake things in a way that planned for the future. And what I'm excited about the future of it is that they've shown us with the trust system that they can build, and yes, it's moving forward, but they can build impressive systems. They can improve the companion system. They can go back and they can do these things. And so it gives me hope when there's something about the game that just gets on me. Like, I hate the market board. I find it so clunky. I don't like the way retainers work. I don't like the way it searches something. And then every once in a while, they add something that shows me they're thinking about it. Like when I was doing Ishgard restoration stuff, and I can say, you know what, just make a raw search, make a raw ingredient list for me. And it does that. Now, I can't say insert that list into the market board and just show me those items. I can't do that yet. But it's a sign that one day, what if that was possible? So I'm excited for just the everyday quality of life improvements that make the parts that kind of break my immersion. It's like, I'm having a really good time. Oh, why did it do that? Like, I just get excited when those things go away. I look forward to having, one day there's going to be a second tab where we can have left and right rings not be jamming into each other. And they've learned enough from lessons like Happy saying that it's not going to be flubbed where it's like, okay, we added a second ring tab and now you're going to find left rings and right rings. It's like, why? So it feels like they've learned enough that when something does come, it's typically at least implemented with good intentions, whether or not it lands well. Obviously, we have things where plenty of people don't like limited jobs, but it was well intentioned. We want a side battle system like Deep Dungeon, like Relic, where you can go progress outside of it, and it doesn't have to be balanced for content. Okay, that's a good idea. Whether or not you like the implementation is an opinion, but the idea was well intentioned. And so I think the future of 14 for me is they seem to only be able to implement so many of those innovations per expansion. And so since I want more, the only way to get there is time.
Yeah, I think that's a real key aspect is that, and it takes sometimes a little bit of patience and a little bit of just like, okay, how do we get there? Because I could spend Square Enix money like all day. Like I could sit here and be like, my list of things that I want in this game is absurd because from like knowing how hard development is because that's the industry I live in. It's like, yeah, okay, Brian's like, oh, this quick suggestion. Like when I hear like, oh, it's easy, just do whatever. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's like 14 months of work. Okay, and do we stop what we're working on right now? Because we started that 14 months ago or 6 months ago. That's got to get put into the queue. And then it's like, we'll just hire more resources. Like, a resource doesn't come online ready to rock and roll. Like, at best case scenario, voice crack, at best case scenario, you're looking at a minimum of 3 months before they even know how to, like, get coffee for themselves. Like, it's like, hi, welcome to Square Enix. We're this huge mega corporation. We've got so many things going on at the same time. Try not to trip. Let's go. Welcome to the show. I think essentially what I would love to see, like what I really want and what excites me about the future is that, like Yoshi P has said, and I do believe that he wants to make the game that we want to play. Like he wants to actively make like a great game and he's passionate about it. I think Final Fantasy XVI, being a separate game, is a really good testament, and I cannot wait to see what he does with that, with him and his team that is working on that game, because I think essentially as Final Fantasy goes, even when 15 was coming out, like I was like, guys, like the real testament to the change that Yoshi P has made in the culture is 16. There's no way that he could like make changes, save 14, and then at the same time drastically impact the development of 15, which was ongoing, starting and stopping. Square Enix's traditional, hey, we thought of a great idea, here's a trailer, we're going to make the game here in 10 years. And so hopefully with this is that we get to see kind of a bigger, more investment in content that helps stem the gaps between content. And I think what 2020 showed me is that obviously like Final Fantasy as a theme park MMO has its challenges when content has a massive gap in it. That was not on that wasn't their fault. That was everybody has been delayed.
Right.
But I think I would love to see, what excites me about the future of 14 is that as they've done with Bozja, like Bozja, it's isolated, right? And I just go, that was a great test. Just bring skirmishes and critical engagements into the world. Like, just help me as a player find more things to do that aren't necessarily like Savage. And so one of the things, and we talked about this in a video, and I know like this is my most controversial viewpoint, but I'm loving getting my stats on me. And the thing that sucks about my self-parsing is that I can see other people's numbers and I could care less about what other people are doing. Like, I just want to try to improve myself. And when it comes down to that, like, I would love to see that brought into the game itself. I think that would be a very good thing for me. It's controversial because I know a lot of people have a strong opinion about no, because they feel like I don't need it even in real time. Just give me something to where I can try to push myself, and it takes all the content and makes it relevant, because Brian's going to go, because he's a stupid nerd, and he's going to go try to become the best that he can be in the game on that dungeon. And, anyway, but people will abuse it. I'm very well aware that there are assholes in this universe. But then essentially I would love to see an investment in PvP. I think PvP is a piece of content that that can bridge that gap. Like when we talk about like the gap itself, like I shouldn't have to coordinate with like a special Discord if I wanted to PvP in this game. And that would be the two things that I would think that would really excite me. I don't think they're going to do it. I think if you're going to fix PvP, it's got to be done at the core aspect of the game. Happy, you're rolling your eyes. Go ahead. Let's hear.
I'm looking around, looking for a saving grace, and I've yet to find it. Real quick. Honestly, I think a lot of people look at the GCD, they look at the separation of PvP, the lack of meaningful rewards. They're all criticisms. I just want them to stop making 48 and 72. Just make smaller modes. Stop making things that require so many people, because that's why they die.
Yeah.
Just
it needs 72 people. How many are in line? 48. Cool.
Yeah, it's like just make smaller modes and make more classic modes too. We don't have a capture the flag, a quintessential mode. You got MOBAs and capturing points. Give us capture the flag, please.
You know how I fix PvP? Because Chris and I actually fixed the PvP problem, and we removed healers' ability to heal
altogether. We
And-
ran it.
I thought you were gonna say
we
you
ran as a
removed
community
PvP.
thing. No, there just isn't healing. Everybody dies.
Yeah, and it was so much
It's
fun.
chaos.
And it was just like turn healers into green DPS as a part of PvP. It's a separate system in and of itself
We've
for
already
skills.
broken the jobs anyway.
Right on. And then
That
essentially,
ship
the other rule that we put in for our customs is you couldn't play the same job twice. So every day was always kind of changing, but it was just chaos. Like it was, and so you like if you played a tank, you could go whatever. I was like, they really just need to not worry about the roles, because one of the things that we constantly have a problem with is the wait. Like I've enjoyed the PvP, but it's like I go in queue and I'm like 45 minutes. F you. Like I don't like it that much. I can get any other game. I can go and play any other game and be in 2 seconds. I'm going to take the path of least resistance. And so like, I would say like, they should just change that healing aspect, remove the role thing and just say, go nuts, have fun. And then if you want to create your own custom games, pick a zone and you could go play out in the open world in a thing. So people could actually spectate and watch. So you wouldn't have to be like, well, we're going to do PvP and we're going to stream. It's cool. They got the tools, but the whole esports, the whole, like that was like,
I love the 1v1s in Boja. I didn't think I would. I thought that I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I like getting to spectate.
I also like the fact that everybody's like surrounds the circle and it's like, yeah, let's go. Have you done any 1v1s, Haps?
He's beat him, right?
I have Sword of the South on 2 different characters, which is the title for beating all 3 of them.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of 1v1s. I got 4 Gabriel mounts from 1v1s the other day. That was some nice money.
That's fantastic.
Cool. Because you get 99 chests for winning, right?
Yeah, you get 99 lock boxes for winning a 1v1.
99. I don't know what to do with that.
So it's
you get one
it's
from everything else.
It's basically 78 indigo prisms, some worthless materia, and a chance at either tabletop things or parasols or mounts.
Listen, I made a lot of money off those lock boxes. You watch your mouth. It wasn't just the Gabriels.
You watch your mouth.
There's some pets and stuff in there as well.
General purpose die 400k. I don't know why, but one die is 400k, and people pay for it. So.
Yeah, there's a metallic silver die I got today in there. So there's some stuff in there, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's all indigo stars, though.
But a lot of indigo stars.
A lot of indigo stars.
And you can't macro them.
No.
So there's no use. I mean, there's no use anyway, but if I could put it in my rotation where like every time I fell cleave, I get a blue star above my head, I would. It's dumb, but it's like, all right, got to go buy 999 more. I have to stop fell cleaving. Like I would, but they won't let me macro them.
You just said something and it made me really like remember some of the thing I've enjoyed about every expansion is the continual improvement in terms of like hotbar and how they've like updated the skills and things like that. And there's still, I think some jobs are still a little bit out of whack. Paladin seems like a couple things like that could just have been an upgraded skill that just changes automatically.
Gunbreaker's brand new and there's so many.
Gunbreaker's a lot of fun though. But as far as it goes, like I'm excited to see what they change kind of with the UI. Man, if they like what fall out of my chair moment, like to take it back to the first topic would be if they announce like the lost actions are just generally available in the game.
Like in open world.
Yeah. Like just, and maybe just like not in Savage content. Like it's like, okay, like we're going to allow this to be everywhere because it doesn't matter. And then in Savage content, like, okay, you can't have death. We're just not going to allow for that.
I saved a Castrum run this week by being up top and everybody was going down. And as a Dark Knight, I used 5 raises to raise the various healers multiple times. And that's how we finished the top. I was Dark Knight raising and then I had Cure 4 and raise because I was like, this isn't going to go well.
Cure 4 is great.
And I was Cure 4ing myself, raising people. And it's like, way to go, Dark Knight. Like, that's awesome.
Oh my goodness gracious! So that kind of brings us to the conclusion of the show. In this case, at least for the final topic, we can kind of shoot the crap here for a few more minutes, etc. Chris, like what else is on your mind? Any kind of thing that any of us said that you want to kind of rehash before we wrap up the show?
No, I think it'll just be nice to start the hype season. This usually starts in November, and so when you look at a standard patch cycle and you look at the fact that we have this, there are times in 14 that, especially if you've been playing for a long time, you have all the jobs you want to cap, you've done all the story and stuff that you want to do, you very quickly can kind of gap out sometimes. And the hype for this is what makes it fun to go back and get that one more relic, or get that one missing extreme mount, or go back and do something you haven't done. And I'm just ready for this season to officially kind of kick off. Like, it just feels, it feels late because it is late. So like, it's not a criticism towards anybody. I'm just ready. Like, next week is such a big week, but it's a big week that should have been in November.
What about you, Habs?
You sound like a high school person going to prom for I'm ready.
I am.
We're
going all the way to 6.0. We're going all the way, Happy.
got my
watching
my
American Pie all over
corsage.
Oh my god. Okay, so one thing he mentioned, constantly over the show, he's mentioned things that are in one piece of content being incorporated into others, such as skirmishes and criticals being in the overworld. Blue Mage has always had dungeon targets, or the weekly targets for the carnival, and I'd like to see that incorporated into dungeon targets for just casual play, for either more tomestones or remix certain rules. And there's the closest thing I think we'll ever get to a Mythic Plus system that always comes up from World of Warcraft is maybe a gold dungeon target, where this week, this dungeon, there's extra mobs, or all auto attacks of a small AoE, or
it's the
something like that.
Dungeons, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me go to floor 2 of Sastasha.
Yeah. Dungeon targets inspired by Blue Mage's Mass Carnival targets. It's a big thing. I'd like to see.
Absolutely. I think that would be taking that kind of that mid-core content, and then you can kind of keep pushing that further and further, and that the modifiers and just the variety of change. Because one of the things that I think has not aged that well is that after I've run the dungeon like a couple of times, like, there isn't anything else that's reminding me back to that dungeon, especially when in patch 5.2 and 5.4 the gear is going to increase for the tomes. So I just, like, as somebody who's like, well, I'm just not going to worry about that. I'm just going to wait till the 0.4 patch to where tomes mean something to me. And so I'm just not going to stress about it before that. And it's been very nice. Like, I've enjoyed my time in 14 more because of it. But at the same time, I would love to see, like, a reason to go and try to, like, that just pick a dungeon. We've got, 70, 80 of them. And with the new expansion, easily could have 100 dungeons. Just pick a dungeon, make it level cap, and let's just have fun with it. Like, and just like they're doing with the Unreal Trials, like, yeah, challenge me, in that regard. You could make it a little bit special.
Yeah. That's a big thing I want to see. Believe it or not, Unreal has actually been something of a fascination with me. I've cleared it twice every week. Since it came out, I've not missed a week. And it's been interesting showing people the OGs and remembering the OGs, and watching people who have no idea what they were all about. And so continuing to expand on the system, some people consider it lazy. And I'm not going to lie, at times it feels lazy. But at the same time, it's also it's also nostalgic for someone, an old timer like me.
Nostalgic, and also taking your job and all the new things that they've kind of brought to it.
Oh yeah,
it's fresh, and at the same time, nostalgic, which is something very unique, because back at the time you're running it, like, yeah, we didn't have a gunbreaker, or they didn't have these kind of skills that were a part of that. And so it does change up the gameplay a little bit, which is pretty exciting, because we did Shiva got our butts kicked because we're like, oh man, it's been forever. And then now I'm only used to running it as a Blue Mage. So we had to relearn it, and we only did it at the last part of it. And now it's like, okay, I need to make time for that, because it's something that I'm really happy that they started to introduce in the game itself. And I'm glad people are engaging with it. Congrats on your 2 clears a week.
we clear we clear content way faster than they can make it, so it feels silly to let content have 1-2 year life cycle and then let it die. So I think the term I think is correctly leverage what's already there. I think that's the phrase, right? You have, between trials and dungeons, you have 130 instances or something silly. Like, you're saying, okay, I can only put 1 new dungeon per patch. That's fine, but can you give us 1 Unreal per patch as well? Like, that way we feel that we're getting 2 new things, and you're like, okay, but I don't have to go make something entirely from scratch, all new concept art and all of this. Like, if there's a way to do that and it makes it cheaper for them, we got just as many hours out of Unreal as we do out of Matoya's Relict, and hopefully that costs them less.
Yeah. And the last thing, you brought up Extreme Trials. This is the first expansion I've actually taken to getting all of them. And 5.3's trial was so good, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get all the mounts. And
Cool.
so I am but 99 totems of next patch away from at least being able to buy all the mounts at some point. And it reminds me that one thing I kind of look forward to is I think they're gonna start making just weapon coffers drop from trials. I think we have too many jobs at this point. We're gonna have too many jobs for certain already. And getting the weapon you want without doing 10 clears, or getting multiple weapons and not seeing the weapons. It took me 92 kills to get my monk weapon by the time I was like looking for my mount. So I think that's another big thing that I'm holding expectations to.
How you liking them? How you liking the monk changes, by the way?
Oh, listen, it's what I consider the bare minimum to make it fun again. And I hope that they take a more in-depth look at it in Shadowbringers.
Yeah, I agree. I actually was I was impressed with it back at the media tour when I touched it, because I did not like it previous. And then I was like, okay, like I can see that this is coming together a little bit better. And then it's like when they dropped that requirement, I was playing it, putting out the guide for it, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually much cleaner. At least for me as a player, as a monk main. And I was like, okay, I like this a lot more. I think it feels a little bit more, it feels faster. Like, it just feels naturally faster. And one of the things that I didn't like about monk is like, you gotta have to get it going, and then it's like, yeah, there you go. So I was like, okay, let's go. That's the perfect analogy without even speaking words. All right, is there anything else we need to hit? Happy, what do you tell people where they can find you and what you got for the event?
You didn't give your closing opinion though. Where's your closing opinion?
My closing opinion.
We did Chris's, we did mine. Where's yours?
I'm looking forward to the game. I have a tendency, it's like, man, like it would be nice if, and it's like, I'm just happy that right now I find a lot of joy in trying to improve my gameplay. I've been really enjoying that aspect. I really feel frustrated that it's outside the game and I have to break terms of service to do that. I would just like, okay, that is how it is. I'm going to just deal with it, and if I get in trouble, then I get in trouble, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, that's fine. But I've got everything leveled, and I'm just looking forward to what's next. At the end of the day, I think I'm really curious to see how PSO2 New Genesis does. I'm really curious to see if a lot of these companies are kind of watching it to see if, like, every game that's been around for over 5 to 10 years struggles with this aspect. It's called a cursed problem in development, or especially in game development, where it's like you can have like your time spent and invested is going to pay off. But at the same time, we also have to get new players in. And so we're going to allow them to get caught up to you pretty daggone fast. So it kind of negates that. That's a cursed issue. And I'm hopeful that what we see with New Genesis might be something we could expect to see in Final Fantasy. Because if it's a system that works, it's great. Because when we look at what doesn't work, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, when they're just like, and we're just deleting stuff out of the game. I think nobody likes that. And then WoW has an interesting setup right now where they just basically lowered the level down, and it's like, I don't,
right.
But
it has its own set of problems.
It has its own set of problems. So
it's good,
like,
but also bad.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's going to be really cool to see ultimately what happens, on Friday. So, I'm just happy for news, man. It is a bummer though that we aren't all together. Like out of Vegas or out in San Diego or whatever. I think that was something that I was particularly looking forward to. And if the next time we're all physically together is in another 2 years, I might actually bring Maddie, because it's so funny, because she'll be like 8 or 9, and it's like, okay, come to this video game nerd thing with me. All right, that I think concludes the show. Mr. Happy, tell people where they can find you and what you got coming up, so that way they can come hang out with you on the 5th.
You can find me at Mr. Happy 1227 pretty much anywhere. YouTube's actually Xehanort 1227 because it's a really old YouTube channel. I made it to hold a MacBook up to a TV screen while I played Kingdom Hearts for the first videos when I was like 17 years old. So that's a walk down memory lane. February is going to be busy. I'm busy now. I've been playing a game called Outward with some friends.
How is
it's
it?
like
How is that?
Yourself, Brian. It's fantastic. I love it. It's a lot more of a it's like Dark Souls meets survival, like with hunger and thirst and diseases and the elements and stuff like that. So I've really been enjoying it. We've been playing with a 4-player co-op mod that lets us break the custom player limit of 2 normally, which is what the game default caps at. That's been a lot of fun playing that with friends. 14 Basia or Delibram on Tuesday. Been prepping that. Outriders demos end of February. Plan on playing that in April. Yes. Genshin still. That has an update next week, right after Delibram, literally the night of. What else?
Destiny's new season starts on the 2nd as well. And I was
yeah, it's going to be kind of rough.
You suck, Destiny. Like, because it's like you couldn't have waited a week. You got to do the same day as 5. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. Bravely Default 2 is in February. There's something else in February. I know I played Dauntless, so there's a Dauntless update in February. There's something else that I'm forgetting that's really important. 11's Voracious Resurgence Part 3 is happening, so I've actually been keeping up with that. February's packed, and then March is Monster Hunter, Balan Wonderworld. That's the next several months are no breaks. Just all full throttle.
I need to figure out a way to go full time because I want to put more 11 in my day, and I just can't do it right now. It's like, okay,
I don't want to put any more 11 in my day.
Oh, but but they have the whole the new story, and they're building up.
I've got 4 Remas. I don't want to do anymore. I've got 4 relics in that game. I don't want to do anymore.
Oh man, it's a lot of work, but it's like I have such a love for that game, and it's like anytime I go back to it, I have a great time. And everybody's like, I wish you played 11 more. And I go, I wish I could too. Like, it just comes down to it. If it'd make it easier if there was like a universal sub for 14 and 11, just like, let me just pay Square Enix a flat fee, and then I get access, and I'm not sitting here like, oh, here's my 14 sub and my 11 sub, and they bill at different rates. And so that'd be something ideal for me. But yeah, anyway, Chris, what are your you just went full time, so you're live on Twitch right now.
I'm playing 14 and WoW are kind of my 2 games. I've talked about adding a third. I haven't revealed kind of which one I've kind of decided. I've pretty much nailed that down, but it'll be a third MMO. So I'm just enjoying kind of getting more of a broad casual take. So not clearing the savages, the ultimates, the mythics, but instead trying to get a feel for like, okay, what do all 10 tanks feel like across World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy? What do they have in common? What do they not? And I'm enjoying that. So I've got all my tanks to cap in 14. I'm working on getting the last of my relics, and then making sure I'm comfortable with those. I've got 1 tank to get into Shadowlands. All the other tanks are in Shadowlands. So I am on number 10, Paladin on World of Warcraft's the last one. Obviously, this month's huge. It starts off next week with 545, and then there's the big announcement that we just spent all this time talking about. Happy will be covering it live on Twitch with 2 wonderful guests. I'll be here on Twitch with 2 wonderful guests. Mine are Brian and Benny from Comic Storian. We're going to have a good time. And then on the 20th, we have BlizzCon. The one thing I wish Square Enix would do is move to a Square Enix con. Maybe not everybody wants that, but there's enough things that I would love for it to be more annualized, large produced, and like, yes, 14 is a huge piece of that, but like there's other things going on. It would be a great place for them to have a home field advantage when they want to announce the next thing for Outriders or 16 or whatever that is, where there's already kind of a venue where like, hey, everybody here's a fan. Like you're in with good friends. What do you got for us? So this month's big for us there. And I'm trying to scale up to 7 videos a week on Gaming Kinda, while also helping Brian. We're getting up to 7 videos a week again on Work to Game. So Work to Game's scaling back up on YouTube. Not back to the days of old where we were publishing, every 27 minutes, but we are getting back up to 7 days a week. And it's good to have the podcast back. It's good to have something long form where we can come visit with other creators.
I hope that you really enjoyed that highlight, and I hope that you check out the full podcast. Again, link is in the description. Thanks for being here, and I hope you have a fantastic day, you wonderful, beautiful individual.